Australia's government says it's examining all options after President Trump imposed a 15% tariff on all imports into the US. That is a 50% increase for Australia, which had previously secured a 10% levy under the old framework. That has some Aussie exporters bracing for tougher competition ahead, with tariffs coming down for many other countries as well. Australia's largest business association, the Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, says that while the US Supreme Court decision was expected, many businesses may still be caught out by the renewed uncertainty. Joining us now is the ACCI CEO, Andrew McKellar. Andrew, great to have you back again here on Bloomberg. What are you hearing from and also communicating to your membership at the moment?
Oh, Heidi, great to be with you. Look, obviously it is a period of uncertainty. This wasn't an entirely unexpected decision. I guess it's been one of the contingencies that has been very much factored in. The US government's reaction equally, it's not entirely surprising. We didn't expect that they would walk away from their tariff policy. The level at which it's got to be set and how that's applied now, obviously that does create uncertainty. Look, our advice to our members is to take this one step at a time. Obviously, they've got to look closely at their contract terms and provisions now, and in particular, the payment terms. So we're urging them to go and talk to their trade advisors, talk to your state or territory Chamber of Commerce, and certainly look very closely at those contract terms and provisions, so that we can understand how any change from here in tariff administration is going to impact. We're working closely with government. We're getting good advice from them. Their approach the whole way along has been very measured, obviously taking this one step at a time and playing the long game. So I think that's really the approach that we're seeking to implement with our members.
In terms of sectors and certain parts of the business community that are harder hit, or perhaps that might benefit with a diversification of trading partners, what are you seeing at the moment?
Oh, look, diversification is the key word. So we are certainly seeing that as a key area of focus across business. We did our annual trade survey late last year, and we found that I think it was 53% of exporters said that they had opened up or were actively looking at new markets to go into. In particular, that was areas like India, Southeast Asia, Vietnam, Indonesia. These were economies that were at the top of the list. More broadly, though, Australian companies are looking at diversification opportunities around the world. We're working closely with government on that.
Andrew, it seems that we have lost connection with you. That was Andrew McKellar, CEO at the Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, of course, with the business reaction when it comes to President Trump's tariffs. We do have more with Andrew as he joins us back. Andrew, it seems that we lost you for a second there, but are you with us right now?
Hi, yeah, sorry about that, a technical glitch.
It's totally fine.
So,
continue your thoughts, and also perhaps you could expand to the fact that, you were talking about veering to other markets and how difficult and what are the biggest challenges for your members.
Yeah, look, they are looking to diversify. As I was mentioning, 53% of exporters in our national trade survey last year said that they were looking at areas like India, Southeast Asia, in particular Vietnam and Indonesia were very high on the list. I was just mentioning only a few weeks ago, I was with Trade Minister Don Farrell in Saudi Arabia, in the UAE, and Australia has just recently signed a new comprehensive economic partnership agreement with the UAE. So there's huge opportunities there. I think one of the other areas that we're currently negotiating with is, of course, the EU, and our members would be in favour of getting a good outcome on negotiations there. So there are opportunities for diversification, and certainly business in Australia is very much looking at those opportunities as a positive chance to grow trade.
Andrew, we know the Trade Minister had headed to California to support this sort of flagship economic and cultural diplomacy program, G'day Australia. I do wonder, it's interesting, we were talking about the sort of steady, level-headed, even-toned approach that the government has been taking. What would you like to see in terms of deliverables and perhaps the approach this time around, given that we've now seen this sort of reversal of fortunes?
I think it's been the correct approach. It's been very much a Team Australia approach. Only yesterday morning, very quickly in response to the developments over the weekend, we had a briefing with Ambassador Rudd and the team from DFAT. So, they're taking careful stock of, what this decision means and what the administration's response means. So, look, I think one step at a time. We shouldn't panic. Australian exporters to the US will still be in about as good a position as they can be because this tariff will be additive. So we still get the benefits of the free trade agreement that we've had for many years. Of course, there will be some additional expenses and impost as a result of the changes that the administration are making. But I think, there are exemptions there. We've seen products like beef actually growing the value of their exports, given market circumstances. The Americans still need our high-quality beef, and there are exemptions there covering products like that because the administration is very concerned not to exacerbate pressure on things like food prices.
Andrew, great to have you as always. Andrew McKellar, who's the CEO of the Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We do have more ahead on Australia Ahead. That's every Tuesday at 11:40am if you're watching in Sydney, 8:40am if you're catching us from Hong Kong. You can also tune into the Bloomberg Australia podcast, delving into the biggest stories shaping the country's role in global business. You can find that on Apple, Spotify or Bloomberg.com. More ahead here on the Asia Trade. This is Bloomberg.